In a landmark deal toward Middle East peace, Israel and the United Arab Emirates will establish normal diplomatic relations. The surprise announcement came after a phone call yesterday between President Trump, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and leaders of the Persian Gulf country. It requires Israel to pause its annexation of territory in the West Bank. If both countries fulfill the deal, the UAE will be only the third Middle Eastern nation to have normal relations with Israel, behind Jordan and Egypt. President Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner led the talks. He joins us from the White House. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
The New York Times columnist Tom Friedman, who's written a lot about this region, called it a geopolitical earthquake and huge. The president said he anticipates others in the region will follow, possibly even the Palestinians, but they call this a betrayal. Who do you think is likely to follow?
Well, I think what happened yesterday is a tremendous day. And, our administration doesn't always agree with Tom Friedman, but I think that the column that he wrote was spot on. This is a massive change for the Middle East. President Trump does not take traditional approaches. I saw that in the lead up to this segment, that people misinterpret him sometimes with the way that he's posturing on different things. But what you saw yesterday was the first peace deal in the Middle East in the last 26 years. I've been working on this very closely with President Trump over the last 3.5 years. It took a lot to get to this point, but this is a dramatic breakthrough that will make the Middle East safer. It means that less American troops will have to be over there. A lot of the past politicians created the instability. When President Trump got into office, ISIS had a caliphate the size of Ohio. We had a lot of violence. We had a lot of terrorism. And President Trump's gone very, very tough at it because his priority is protecting American citizens. So President Trump, the deal maker, had a very big victory yesterday and was able to bring our close ally, the United Arab Emirates, together with our closest ally in the region, Israel, which will make America safer in the region and the whole region more hopeful.
President Netanyahu says Israel is still committed to annexing parts of the West Bank, but, quote, it can only happen in coordination with the U.S. And some are saying, since he's still committed to that, this is really only a symbolic victory.
Well, not at all. First of all, you have the first peace agreement in 26 years, so that's not symbolic, that's concrete. But with regards to the annexation, the Middle East has a lot of problems. These are problems that have been developed over decades, and President Trump's the first person to come in very pragmatic. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He recognized the Golan Heights. He ended the disastrous Iran deal, which gave $150 billion to the largest state sponsor of terrorism that chants death to America, death to Israel. And so President Trump's really realigned things. He's also combated extremism. He's taken out some of the leading terrorists in the region, and that's created a much better paradigm there. So we still have to deal with the realities on the ground. We still have a lot more work to do. But over the last 3.5 years, President Trump's strategy that he laid out in Riyadh in 2017 has really been working, and we have a lot more successes ahead. And that's why President Trump's strategy, which a lot of people discounted and underestimated because it was unorthodox, is something that is proving to have great results, as Tom Friedman called out in his column today.
I want to turn to the coronavirus because we just had the worst day for deaths since late May. The CDC head Robert Redfield said we could face the worst fall in the history of American health if we don't follow some basic guidelines. And Dr. Anthony Fauci said, I'm not pleased with how things are going. Vice President Biden in his campaign has called for a national mask mandate. The president said he is against that. Why?
President Trump has strongly encouraged people to wear masks. He believes in the federalist system. He trusts Americans to make the right decisions for themselves. He trusts governors to make the right decisions. A lot of governors have put in place mask mandates, and the president has supported them. But you have some states that have very low transmission. You have some states that are very high. And if people feel more comfortable wearing masks, they absolutely should. I do think it's a public health a good thing to do. People should be doing it. But President Trump does not believe that Washington should be telling people how to live their lives in all the different states. So I think that this is people really politicizing this issue more than anything else. I think we have made a lot of progress. We've gotten to the hospitals, to our country, all the different supplies that they needed. We've seen a lot of hysteria that wouldn't be possible. President Trump's led the effort to do a vaccine. The fastest vaccine in history took 13 months to get from development to stage 3 trials. On the coronavirus vaccine, President Trump's done that in 4 months without bypassing any safety regulations. And we have 6 of them now that are very close to being done, and we're simultaneously manufacturing doses so that the minute it gets approved, we'll be able to start making it available to those who want it. So, look, President Trump is making his decisions based on the science. He's been following the advice of his advisors. He's focused on making sure that as few people as possible lose their jobs, and that the economic impact from this is as little as possible, while also trying to save as many lives as possible. This is a global pandemic. It's a very tough situation, and President Trump has shown great leadership throughout the situation.
But the science, Mr. Kushner, is pretty clear that masks make a big difference.
Yeah, but again, it's a difference between mandating them and allowing people to do it. Again, he's supported a lot of governors who have put in place mandates, but the way that the federal system works is that the president doesn't believe that there's a one-size-fits-all approach to everywhere. It's like education. That has to be decided on the local level. The president believes that the mask should be decided on the local level, but he has taken a very strong stance that he encourages all Americans to wear masks, and he believes that it will help us defeat this virus.
Even though frequently he doesn't wear one himself.
Well, again, you're supposed to wear one in situations. I mean, you shouldn't wear a mask in the shower when there's no one around you. If you're around people who have been tested or you're in the right environment, there's no need to wear a mask. But people should take precautions and wear masks where appropriate. So, again, I think a lot of people have tried to politicize this issue. This is a public health issue. We shouldn't be putting politics in this. We should all be focusing on what's best for the country, what's best for people, and how do we move forward. But the good news with the vaccine coming is that with therapeutics, our case fatality rate has gone down. Hospitals are knowing how to treat people much better. We're learning from the science who has a greater risk and who has a smaller risk based on this disease, and we keep adjusting accordingly. So the good news is as the vaccine shows a lot of promise, hopefully that will again, and then we can rebuild the country. And President Trump built the greatest economy that our country's seen in 50 years before the virus, and I have no doubt that he'll be able to do it again, this time even bigger and better. He's bringing a lot of our jobs back now from China and from other places, and focused on how do we never put ourselves in a position where we're vulnerable to a pandemic like this again.
In a press conference yesterday, President Trump promoted a false and racist conspiracy theory that Senator Kamala Harris is not eligible to be vice president. Let's take a listen to what he said in that briefing yesterday.
So I just heard that. I heard it today that she doesn't meet the requirements. And by the way, the lawyer that wrote that piece is a very highly qualified, very talented lawyer. I have no idea if that's right. I would have assumed the Democrats would have checked that out before she gets chosen to run for vice president. But that's a very serious. You're saying that they're saying that she doesn't qualify because she wasn't born in this country.
Does the Trump campaign accept that Kamala Harris is a qualified candidate?
He just said that he had no idea whether that's right or wrong. I don't see that as promoting it. But look, at the end of the day, it's something that's out there. And again,
that's not what I'm asking. Do you accept that she's a qualified candidate?
I personally have no reason to believe she's not. But again, my focus for the last 24 hours has been on the historic peace deal that we've been able to achieve here.
She was born in Oakland, California.
Yeah.
Makes her a qualified candidate. Why didn't the president take the opportunity to debunk that theory?
I have not had a chance to discuss this with him, but again, let his words speak for himself.
Yeah. You met this week with Kanye West, who's been a friend of yours for 10 years.
Yes.
Is the Republican Party trying to help Kanye West get on the ballot in some states? Is the Trump campaign trying to do that?
No, look, our discussion was about, we were talking about different policies. Kanye's obviously a very visionary thinker. He's somebody who cares a lot about our country and a lot of people. We were discussing a book that he actually sent me a while ago called Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson, which had a lot of great policy ideas in it, many of which the president's put in place. But look, President Trump promised that he would be the president for all Americans and especially represent the forgotten Americans in this country. President Trump led historic efforts to pass criminal justice reform. I was fortunate to lead those efforts, which rolled back the crime laws that were passed in 1994 that had a disproportionate impact on the African-American community. He also passed opportunity zones to get access to capital in a lot of the underserved areas. And so right now we're in the pandemic, but a lot of these ideas for how we can get better schools and better capital and better jobs into the inner cities to those who need it the most are ones that President Trump's very focused on. So Kanye and I like to talk about ideas like that, but we haven't discussed his actual campaign.
You didn't discuss his campaign for president at all?
We did not.
Jared Kushner, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Have a great day.